Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hope so you all are fine. Today we are going to discuss about the urinary system of human. The urinary system of human basically consists of four major parts: kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra. While the most important and the major organ of the urinary system is the kidney. Basically, kidney is used to filter the blood and to remove out waste material from the body. The urine is then passed to the ureter and then to the urinary bladder and then to the urethra. Basically, the urinary system consists of the kidney, the ureter, as well as urinary bladder and urethra. As it clearly seems that our human body used to have one pair of the kidney, the two kidneys. Moreover, this kidney used to filter the blood and used to remove out the waste material like urea, uric acid, creatinine, and many of the other metabolic waste material as well as the waste water. It is removed out by the kidney in the form of the urine, and then this urine is passed toward the tube. This tube used to carry the urine from the kidney towards the urinary bladder, and this tube is known as the ureter. Each kidney have the ureter. It means that the human body have the one pair of the ureter as well. This ureter used to carry the urine from the kidney towards the urinary bladder. What is urinary bladder? The urinary bladder is basically the bag that used to store the urine for some specific and limited time. After that, the urine is removed through the tube that is known as the urethra from the body to the outside. If we are going to discuss about the kidney, then the kidney is the bean shape in structure, bean shape in appearance. It is the dark red in color. If you are going to see the color, then it is a dark red in color. As well as if we are going to discuss about the weight of the kidney, then the weight of the kidney is 120 gram. The weight of kidney is 120 gram and the length of the kidney is 10 centimeter. The widthness of the kidney is 5 centimeter. As well as if we are going to see the thickness, that how much the kidney is thick, then this is basically 4 centimeter. So about the kidney, that is the dark red in the color, used to appear just like a bean in the shape, 10 centimeter in the length, 5 centimeter in the width, and the 4 centimeter in the thickness, and the weight is 120 gram. If we are going to discuss about the location of the kidney, then the kidney used to locate in the back side of the abdominal cavity. This is the abdominal cavity, and the kidney used to present at the back side of the abdominal cavity where the vertebrae is present in the center of the right and left kidney. The kidney just exists just below to the diaphragm. Here is the diaphragm. If you remember, you have learned about the diaphragm in chapter number 11, that is present just below the ribs. Now, the two floating ribs, if you're going to look at very clearly, then two floating ribs are basically protecting the kidney. The kidney is present in the abdominal cavity, backside of the abdominal cavity, and the vertebrae column is present in between. If you're going to observe it clearly, then the left kidney is a little higher as compared to the right kidney. Let's discuss the kidney in details. The kidney have basically two sides. The one is the concave side and other one is the convex. The one is the concave and other one is the convex. If you're going to observe it clearly, then the concave side, this one side having a depression, and this depression is known as the hilum. That is known as the hilum. Basically, this depression is known as the hilum. The reason is that this is the depression which is actually used by the veins, by the arteries, by the ureter by the lymphatic system to enter and to leave the kidney. So this depression is known as the hilum. This is the depression basically which is used for entering and the leaving of the blood vessels, veins and the arteries as well as the ureter as well as the lymphatic vessels used to move in and outside. This depression is known as the hilus. No, this depression is known as the hilum. One moreover thing, students, which you have to look at very carefully, then that is the outer part of the kidney, that is a red color, red deep in the color. This is known as the renal cortex. This is known as basically the renal cortex. The outer part, that is a deep red in the color, is known as the renal cortex, while the inner part of the kidney is known as the renal medulla. The renal medulla is a little light red in color. It is a pale red in the color and it contains many cones-like shaped structure. The cone-like structure, it used to have a cone-like structure, and this cone-like structure is known as the pyramids. Next to this pyramid, there is a funnel-like shape, the funnel-like shape structure, and this is known as the pelvis. The pelvis, next to the pelvis, there is a ureter. So this funnel-like shape, might you have seen the funnel in the chemistry lab, this funnel-like shape is basically known as the pelvis. Might you have observed this shape in your chemistry lab, which you used to put the filter in that flask, and this is known as a funnel. Okay, might you have seen in your chemistry lab. So this funnel shape, you can see here, this funnel shape is basically known as a pelvis, and next to the pelvis there is a ureter, that is this is a tube towards the urinary bladder. As I told you before, the kidney used to help in the filtration. Now for the filtration of the blood, this renal cortex and the renal medulla have a special unit cell, and that cell is known as the nephron. This nephron is basically known as the functional unit of the kidney because this nephron is helping in the filtration of the blood and the urine. Moreover, just like the nervous system, in the nervous system, the nerve cell is known as the basic unit of the nervous system. Similarly, the nephron is known as the basic unit of the kidney. Basically, the nephron have two parts, renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. The nephron tube is known as the renal tubule, while this one is known as that is in the form of the capsule, so that's why it is known as a renal corpuscle. The renal corpuscle is basically have two parts. The one is the glomerulus, this one, and other one is the Bowman capsule. The glomerulus, the red one, this is known as the glomerulus, that is basically the network of the capillary, and this is protected by the cup-shaped structure, and this is known as the Bowman capsule. This is the glomerulus and it is protected by a cup-shaped structure, and this cup shape is known as the Bowman capsule. Next to the Bowman capsule, there is a renal tubule, and renal tubule have basically three parts. The first convoluted portion is known as a proximal convoluted tubule, and then after that this U-shaped structure used to come. This U-shape is known as the loop of Henle. Loop of Henle, and next to the loop of the Henle, there is a distal convoluted tubule. In the loop of Henle, if you can see that beta, this tube is moving downward. So this one is known as the descending limb because it is moving downward, and the other limb is moving upward. So this is known as the ascending limb. This one is known as the collective duct. The distal tubule of many nephrons used to collect at one duct, and this is known as the collective duct. You can see here, students, if you are going to look at in detail, then you can see here basically this is basically the collective duct, and many of the nephrons used to distal convoluted tubule of many of the nephrons used to collect at once, used to collect, you can say used to drain into one duct, and this is known as the collective duct. So basically many of the nephrons are basically joining with one duct, and this duct distal convoluted, we can say that the distal convoluted tubule, this one is the distal convoluted tubule. The distal convoluted tubules of many nephrons used to collect themselves at one duct, and this duct is known as the collective duct. And many of the collective duct used to drain into one duct, and that duct is known as the papillary duct. So you can see here the structure of the nephron, that is basically the functional unit of the kidney. There are 1 million nephrons in each kidney, and there are two parts, as I told you before, the renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. The renal corpuscle is not the tubular and has two parts, as I told you before, the glomerulus and the Bowman capsule. The glomerulus is the network of the capillary, while the Bowman capsule is the cup-shaped structure that encloses glomerulus. The renal tubule is the part of the nephron which starts after Bowman capsule, and its first portion is the proximal convoluted tubule, and then the U shape that is known as a loop of Henle, and the last one that is a distal convoluted tubule. The distal convoluted tubule of many nephrons open in a single collective duct, and many collective ducts join together to form a several hundred papillary duct and which into the renal pelvis. So if you are going to look at the papillary duct, then which are the papillary ducts? You can say this one is basically the papillary duct. It contains millions of the papillary duct, and then this papillary duct is basically draining itself into the funnel. Okay, and this funnel then to the ureter, from the funnel to the ureter, and you know it very well, next to the ureter what will come? The ureter to the urinary bladder, and then to the urinary bladder to the urethra. So hope so you get the lecture. If you have any query, you can ask me. Feel free to ask. Jazakallah khair and stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.